Hello and welcome to another episode of Gaming Garnish. I'm your host Brad and I'm joined by the usual crew, Jake.
Hello.
Ben.
Hello.
Joe.
Hello.
And I wanted to start this episode a little differently. There's no question today.
Boo.
Instead, I wanted to shout out some people, specifically you guys. Because I think there's a lot of people who listen and don't know what goes on behind the scenes, and you guys do a really good job. So if anyone's been watching the YouTube lately, Jake's done a really good job with the intro, with the little animation that plays. Joe always does a cracking job editing, putting all the cool sound effects and cutting out all our ramblings.
Oh, thanks.
Ben's doing a really good job with the website, the TikTok, and everything in between.
I was going to say dodging as much as I can.
And also, obviously, the community. Without you guys, you know, the Discord would be very lonely, and it would just be a bunch of guys, 4 guys talking to each other. So,
and I'd like to congratulate you, Brad, for showing up.
Well, I thought I'm the only one who can do this because there's nothing to thank me for. I come with the knowledge.
You can mute to record, so yeah, you have that every time.
Well,
Doing some of the socials. There you go.
Well, with that, shall we get into what we've been playing?
I think we should.
Joe, I want to hear what you've been playing.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Brad. I've actually not played a single thing since our last episode.
You've not played a single thing?
No. I've been doing game adjacent things.
Let's hear it.
So you know that wonderful game called Space Marine that came out last year?
Yeah, I believe that's a Warhammer franchise.
That is a Warhammer franchise owned by Games Workshop.
It
and
is.
Playing that game really got me into wanting to go into one of those stores and look at what they had for sale.
And then it was rammed down your throat.
And then, no, actually, it's not the experience that I think everyone thinks Games Workshop was. They completely ignored me when I went in. I was very surprised.
Wow. I mean, it's been 15 years since probably I've been in one. And that was very much the experience I had where they would be like, what do you want to buy? Do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy that?
Yeah. I just looked around like the tables and the displays that they all had that were all like expertly painted. I thought, I want to get into this. And I went and bought my first like starter painting kit where you get like 3 dudes with flamethrowers and like 6 paints. It's only 20 quid. And I thought, really? It's 20 quid? That is like the best
it's not bad
deal on Warhammer you could probably ever get.
Especially if you're getting into the painting side.
Yeah, which is what I'm getting into it for. Yeah, I know. And you only get a tiny little 15mm pot.
I know. Yeah. Do you get brushes and stuff with that as well?
You get 1 brush.
Yeah, so it's great.
Yeah. And since then, I've actually bought a lot more. I bought some non-Warhammer minis, but painted them like the Warhammer minis I've been painting, so they look all inclusive of the faction.
Nice.
Very nice, very nice.
When I went in the second time to buy a bit of extra paint, because the starter set didn't come with any orange, and the colour scheme I've got with has got a lot of orange in it. Okay. The guy was like, oh, what are you after? I was like, what's the closest thing you've got to NASA rocket orange? And he was like, ooh, that's a good question. And he went on his computer and like got some images up, and he was like really enthused. I was like, this is what the experience I wanted every time I wanted to go in when I was younger.
Yeah.
And you never got it because they're just like, you buy this, you want to get orcs, you want to get this, you want to get this, you want to get this. And I was like, no, I just wanted one Space Marine.
But it's someone who's very like enthusiastic about their job and what they're doing.
Yes.
It makes you sort of like feel better about it. And
I wasn't being upsold the whole time. It's just like, have a good time painting. Come send me pictures or like bring in pictures next time you come in. I was like, I will. I'll take photos.
To be fair, Joe, I went because the last 2 years I've been getting really into Dungeons and Dragons. And I went in to get some paints myself and ask about minis and stuff.
Yeah.
Very similar experience. I bought like a starter pack. I got the Age of Sigmar one, which didn't come with a figure, but the guy was really enthusiastic. He basically invited me to all the painting sessions. He's like, just come in, we do tips and stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder
and
if
he just gave me a figure. He was just like, here, have this.
Is it an Infernus Marine? Oh, and he gave you an Age of Sigmar one?
Yeah, he's got
normally they're giving those Infernus ones away.
Yeah.
I wonder if they've like been told from like top down, you're getting a bit too aggressive with your sales.
I think it
depends on the store.
I think it's age related. You guys are older now. They're going to try and push it on kids, aren't they? Because they're more
less easy to manipulate.
We know what we want.
I think it depends on the store as well. Like I've only ever been in the one where we live, so at one time it was very pushy, but now it seems a bit more like enthusiastic. the word.
Yes.
But I think, off the back of all this, I think it's really cool, Joe, that a game, Space Marine 2, has really pushed you into that franchise. And I feel like it's the same for a lot of people who've played Space Marine 2.
Specifically with that game, yeah.
Well, when I say he didn't upsell me, but before Christmas, he was like, "Oh, we do have the Titus figure if you're interested, because we know that game's just come out. And if you buy that, you get a £10 voucher off anything for next year." I was like, maybe. And then I walked out. But he wasn't trying to be like, "Do you not want it? Do you not want it? Do you want it?" He just mentioned it in passing.
You must take it.
Yeah. I was like, I would, but I wouldn't want to ruin that figure because it's like a really cool one.
As you left, did he shout, "You're being Titus with your money"?
Hey, no.
You would hope people would let you know, though, wouldn't you, about a decent offer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah. He didn't force it down your throat.
Yeah.
No, that's really
because
cool.
I told him like I got into it with the Space Marine game, so it was like, "Oh yeah, we offer that figure." So
yeah,
that's cool.
I like that. Obviously Warhammer came first, but playing Space Marine, it's cool to know that all that stuff does exist in real life as well. I remember being a kid, if I was like playing a game, I always wished there was figures of the game I was playing, and for the longest time there wasn't. Now you've got pops and loads of other stuff, but at the time there wasn't as many figures and toys and stuff.
You couldn't show your power level in your own home.
Yeah, exactly. So it's cool that there always obviously has been with Warhammer, so that when the game comes out, you've got that backlog to jump into. Cool. So is that all you wanted to talk about, Joe?
Yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I've got so many paints now. I've got a myriad of like different size brushes, dry brushes, little fine detail brushes, washes, and it's kind of taken over my spare room now.
Well, what a lot of the guys who are listening don't know is that you also didn't go for miniatures to begin with, did you?
Oh no, I've 3D printed a 2 scale of an Astartes model chainsword and heavy bolt pistol.
Yeah, they are huge. Like full size. You say 2 scale. What do you mean by that?
Like,
to scale.
Actual size. Yeah.
To scale. Yeah, I thought you meant like 2 times scale.
No,
how big are they? yeah. They're really cool. I think you should put some pictures in the Discord of you.
Oh yeah, I think I should.
Also those, because like they are probably some of the best props I've seen.
100%.
Actually, maybe we should add a makerspace.
Oh yeah.
The Discord, yeah, that'd be cool. I used to make stuff a long time ago, but they're nowhere near as good quality as what Joe's just done. So
now just bad jokes. Hey.
Well, with that, Ben, what have you been playing?
I'm same actually. I haven't really played much at all. But the factory has grown. I won't go on about it because I always say it.
Well, I believe you've bought the DLC.
I have bought the DLC. It's space. It's enormously difficult to get into space.
How so?
Well, the DLC is the space pack, and you have to grow your factory to suit, but certain things from the main game are removed when you get the DLC because they're intended to be further along in the progression of space.
Right. So if you already had a max level factory or whatever it is.
So artillery, for instance, isn't supposed to be unlocked till a lot later on in space, or else you don't get the best experience.
Okay, so they kind of like mess around with the leveling system a little bit.
Yeah, so it takes an extra item to build the shells for it. So if you've already got artillery built, you just can't build the ammo for it.
Okay, so you can carry on with your save with artillery.
You can, but they don't intend you to do that, if that makes sense. They want you to restart the factory. So I have restarted 3 other factories.
Oh, no.
To get them all into space.
Going in.
Yeah, to be fair, I do wish I'd known that. That sounds stupid, but I would have. One of my game saves I broke off from, I think you guys might remember me mentioning it.
Yeah.
When I started changing for big technology in it, I broke off from it. So fortunately, I can continue from there. And,
so it's not from the very start then?
Yeah, not from the very start for me. But I have started another one from the very start. And I've actually continued my main save anyway, even though they say not to really. But you lose your spider, which is one of the big mech walker type things that you get in it.
Oh no.
I was a bit sad about it. It was the best thing ever because you could walk over buildings and trees and anything in it. It was gigantic.
I do love a good mech.
probably would have been better because obviously you played Factorio once the DLC was out. So if they'd updated Factorio either with the new leveling system or whether they just had like a
Why
pop-up.
wouldn't they adjust accordingly?
Yeah, but they could have a pop-up when you got to a certain point in the tree that said anything from this point is maybe a bit difficult to work with the DLC. We recommend making a save of this.
That would be a good idea, definitely.
Yeah, like a point of no return pop up in it.
Exactly.
I think it's a bit odd that they've sold the DLC as if it's like after you go to space in the main game.
Yeah.
But then they've changed that sort of thing. So, because a lot of people will have already done that before the DLC.
I think it's to keep the drive on because it could go flat a little bit in some places if you weren't getting cool tech.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah, but then if you're just re-unlocking the same tech that you've already unlocked, then I imagine it's flat again.
But there's that much more now because you go to different planets. I took my first trip out to a planet yesterday, which is a volcano-based planet, and I was not ready.
Yeah.
And once you get there,
alive.
Once you get there as well, you come off your space platform that you've built to get you there, and you just can't get back to your platform because there's obviously no rocket to send you back up to it. So once you're there, you're stuck. I reloaded and realized how not ready I was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wise.
It's good that it gives you a genuine consequence for not prepping, though.
Yeah,
most games would be like, oh, well, you'll descend down in your rocket, and if you don't like it, you go back. But no, it's like, well, you're stuck here now. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Would you have been able to start a whole new factory on that planet to get back up?
You do, but you have to use the new stuff because you can't. You need to use the lava for certain things to be able to build more things, cool it, for instance. Or there's no water there, so you can't produce steam to make power. There's all sorts of different changes in the planet, so it's way more complicated because it's not what you're used to.
I can imagine.
The issue was when I got there, as your platform starts propelling through space, you have to fuel it by grabbing asteroids and breaking them down on the platform.
Okay.
So you need to make the water in space. So you get ice, you smash that up, make water again, and then you mix it with iron or some other things. And if you didn't have any kind of guns on the platform, you fly through the asteroids. They don't break them up.
Oh,
okay.
No.
And I didn't know that when I set off. And it just smashed my platform to bits. So by the time I got there, I had no platform to get back anyway because it was all just smashed up and no fuel.
It's cool that the space bit is part of the game as well. I thought it would literally just be click another planet, go there.
It just keeps surprising me. Like it really does. The biggest issue for me right now is the highest sort of tier of gear to build. The hardest stuff is kind of what makes the rocket, and you have to continuously build rockets because there's a weight limit to the amount you can send up to your platform.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm continuously building rockets, and even you getting up there costs you a rocket.
Yeah.
You see. So it's
because your character has weight.
Yeah, physically, you have to go up there. So so it's been pretty good. But other than that, I've played nothing else. Watched a bit of anime. That's about it.
What's your hour count on Factorio now?
About 205 hours in now.
Sure, you were like 60 hours last week.
Hey, it's a continual 60-hour cycle.
Wow.
It's 60 hours between every episode.
Pretty much.
But it's only about 140 in my own game save because I've been helping other people and stuff. And
okay,
cool.
I think with it going back to like it's setting you back in the DLC, I kind of like when they do that. Like in the Elden Ring one, Shadow of the Erdtree, it puts you basically back at level 1, but not in your main game.
It does and it doesn't because you do still carry everything over. It's just not as powerful, and it's only not as powerful in the DLC area.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like if he goes back to his original factory, he's still like maxed out there.
Well, I have like mech legs and stuff like that, and you get to keep them. You get your powered armor, so you keep that. You know, it's not like I've stripped everything, but my whole structure is built on having artillery.
Yeah.
So my defense strategy is artillery and then guns to mince down the bugs as they run at you.
I think it would be more like if you had Elden Ring and even say you bought it now and then you played it all the way through and you really liked this one sword, and it was like this amazing sword, and it had a level 30 dexterity or something you needed to use it. So you got your dexterity to 30, but you were a strength build, for example. And then you bought the DLC, and in buying the DLC, that weapon now has a level 50 dexterity requirement. And you're already level 100 and whatever, and you don't have enough points to put into dexterity. Just because you bought the DLC, you've now lost.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying there.
You know what I mean? That
if I had artillery on the platform, it would be too easy.
Yeah.
I agree with that already. Cause,
I get it, but in this case, again, using Elden Ring as the example, if you got into it now, I feel like that sword should just have a level 50 requirement.
From the beginning.
Yeah. So if you want to rebalance it, fine, but don't rebalance it just because you've bought the DLC.
Yeah.
But still, at least you're enjoying it. It gives you more to grind for.
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah. All right, Jake, what about you?
Well, I talked about it last time when Ben brought it up, but I have finished now Astro Bot.
Nice. Platinum. Woo!
Platinum as well. 100%. Wow. I even went above and beyond and basically did everything that I didn't need to do.
Well, I'm pretty sure you told us that you'd platinumed it, and then you rung me the other day for something. I could just hear Astro Bot in the background. I was like, haven't you already platinumed this?
Yeah, so I was doing the time trials, I think, when you called. But it is...
That's how good a game it is.
It's just so good.
Because once you've got all the trophies, then you can just play the game. For playing the game's sake.
I know. What is that? What do you
mean? Well, I'll do a quick, my quick thoughts. I suppose I talked about it a bit when Ben talked about it, but after finishing it, I can safely say it's just pure joy. It's like pure joy, grinded up and put onto a disc into your PS5.
In lines, which you then snort the joy straight from the disc.
Into your
That's
eyeballs.
why my computer had a hissy fit.
You're not meant to grind the disc up.
Oh, damn.
And I just generally couldn't stop smiling. And a lot of people have had the same sentiments about it online. But I have to agree. I'm talking about it now and I feel like I'm smiling. But playing the game, I was smiling all the way through. The music is really cutesy and cool as you're playing the levels.
Until you can't do a part.
And then it's annoying.
I don't know, the music on the hard levels, those X square triangle circle levels, really gets me pumped. I'm ready. So after I'm dying, I'm like, yes.
I'm talking about the tree.
Yeah,
the tree.
Just the tree.
Well, they designed the game, they've said, haven't they, to try and feel like a toy.
Yeah, I would.
Like an interactive toy. And by your description, it sounds like they've nailed that.
Definitely. And you get power-ups and they're all really unique in their own ways. They could have very easily just done Astro's Playroom. That's already built in on the PS5. They could have just done that again and used the same stuff. But they made something new and they innovated on a lot of the stuff from that game. They put loads of new stuff in it. There's this little mouse power up where you go small.
Oh, it's such a good level.
Yeah, and I was it only shows up twice. And I was
changes your perception.
Yeah.
Well, this game does what a lot of other games have done recently that always end up being fantastic. So Mario Wonder, It Takes Two, and that, where they introduce mechanics that you use for about 10 minutes, maybe half an hour. Or
some of them come back themselves, but they're always back in a new way.
But it's keeping it interesting.
Yeah.
You're not just doing the same thing over and over again. Sometimes that works for games, don't get me wrong.
No, definitely.
But it's no coincidence, I think, that the games that have done this, where they're constantly introducing and throwing away mechanics, always end up being critically acclaimed.
100%. And just to shout out some of the levels, one of my favorite levels is the casino level. And on that level, you get the power up to stop time. And it's basically chips are falling and you're stopping time to climb the chips. And then there's these darts getting thrown across the map. And you have to stop time to then jump on the darts. And I remember seeing the darts flying past and being like,
surely not.
Surely not.
Yeah.
Because then they don't look they're not like platforms that you would normally jump on. But then you stop the time, you're like, this is the way. Yeah.
Well, a few episodes ago, I asked the question, didn't I, about what superpower do you think is underused in games? And one of you guys said time. manipulation.
Yeah, well, this is it.
So, there you go.
Uno Memento over there.
Just play Astro Bot.
And I generally think sometimes it's just showing off as well, how much it can do with the power it's got now. Because in some levels, and it's completely pointless, they have like thousands of assets.
Yeah.
Just like it'll be like loads of gems. It'll be like 1,000 gems just in a little zone.
Oh yeah.
And you can spin as Astro Bot as an attack if you hold square. And I usually just jump on these things, hold square, and just kick it all about just to see what it'll do. Like the physics are great as well. Like they didn't have to go that far, but they did.
I don't know if they use their own engine. I imagine they probably do, but it's impressive.
It's very impressive. And that's basically my sentiments on the game is it's very impressive.
It makes you wonder what they could maybe do for another one. Like they've put so many ideas into this.
Yes.
Could they think of an equal number of ideas for another one? Or would you be happy if they repeated them?
I would be happy if they repeated some of them. Like some things show up from Playroom, like the monkey that climbs.
Yeah.
That's changed a little bit, but that's still in the game. But I think I trust them to come up with more ideas. Because the more I played it, the more I was like, I don't know what else they're going to do with this. And then it throws something else at me, like the mouse, like the time stopping. Like there's this other like monkey with symbols for like one level or something, which changes the environment around you if you get close.
Maybe they could do it like a Breath of the Wild style game where you have these powers like built into Astro Bot and not just for the level.
Oh,
so it's like a free roam thing. And be like, I need this power to do this puzzle, and then you select it.
To
know what you're taking. Yeah.
But that would be cool. They could do that.
There is
one of the things I really appreciated from it was the little extras. So when you got the bots and you're on your own little planet where you're building the PS5 back up, the extra bits that you could get. So the bots are all stood around, and you get what's the accessories for them?
Yeah, and it's like in the machine, isn't it?
Yeah. You save your coins from the levels and you buy the accessories. And the things like the Resident Evil characters have a heart door. Jill has a heart door that she then does a little animation behind and just repeats the animation, and then you go and smack them and they go interact with you kind of thing, don't they?
Yeah. Like, I didn't even think at first, like if you smack them, they would do something. But you run around and they're doing like this little animation now with their accessory, and you smack them and something happens. Some of them
Jake,
bite
the
you.
least violent player.
Yeah, what does that say to me about me there? I just run up and smack the cute bot.
Like Kratos, if you smack him, he gets really annoyed at you. And he grabs his axe and throws it at you and freezes you. But you can actually position yourself, and one of the trophies is this, to freeze somebody else.
Really?
So you can, one of the trophies is to freeze 4 with the hammer.
Nice.
So you just hit him and then position yourself, and he throws the hammer and it freezes him. And then he gets Mjolnir out and does a lightning thing.
It's all these
really
little,
cool.
the little interactions that make a
Definitely
massive difference.
And it's really cool that it's showing like the whole history of PlayStation at the same time. So you're almost like, I wouldn't say educated, but like in a way,
I was excited when I found them. It's Parappa the Rapper.
Yeah, I mean, early on you get Crash Bandicoot. It's in like the second level or something. I
think it works well for people with the nostalgia and for people without. So in some people it will be educational.
We playing the guessing game.
Yeah,
the guessing game of who you were going to get. All right,
definitely. Who am I going to get in this level? I remember finding Joel.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, nice, I've got Last of Us. And then in that level, there's other Last of Us characters, and I was thinking, who's going to be in?
That's cool.
Yeah, we were like, right, it's Crash Bandicoot. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Coco? Is it going to be, who's
Yeah. I think you get Jack and Dexter, or is it Ratchet and Clank? I think you get.
Yeah,
it might be Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, Ratchet and Clank.
But if you're like a kid playing it and you don't know, even if you're an adult, you might not know everyone, because I know there's some pretty obscure picks in there. But it makes you think, oh, who's that character? What are they from?
Yeah.
You Google it, you might think, oh, that's an 18. I can't play that. I'm a child. But
no, they never think that way. They go, oh, that's an 18. I'll get my mother to buy that for
Mom.
Me. There's a lot of callbacks as well. Ape Escape's a big level.
Oh, I love Ape Escape.
Yeah. And then Loco Roco as well. That's a big level.
Well, it's made by
PSP.
Team Zobi, isn't it?
Yes.
I think Loco Roco is their first game.
Yeah, I forgot all about that, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's really, I love getting the characters. And then the reason I've been playing it a bit more is because once you finish it, they've introduced time trials that I think they introduced those like a month after release.
Yeah, free DLC.
Which are hard. Not gonna
Are the new levels?
New levels, yeah.
So you might as well play them.
So I played those, and I did them all to get. You could, by beating certain times, you get certain characters. So they've introduced Helldivers into it. What else is in it? I think you get Wesker in one of them.
That was one of the things I was saying about it when we got to the Resident Evil characters. I'm like, no Wesker. There was Jill. There was Chris. There was, Wesker.
Where's Wesker? Well, he's in it.
He is in it. Got to work on it though.
The Stellar Blade lady. She's there.
Stellar one.
And then I finished these levels, got the characters, and then literally last night, one of my friends, Tom, texts me with a picture saying, like, smashing your times or something.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, oh,
it's on.
It's on. So last night I went on a beat all these times.
God. So we like
all that friend.
And then there was a Christmas level as well.
Ex-friend then.
Yes. I sent him loads of pictures back, like saying, bring it on.
Is the Christmas level still in?
Christmas level's still there, and you get new bots for that as well. You get loads of cool bots for that one. And that actually showcases all of the power-ups, because that's the only level where you can get like more than one, but they're all in the level.
Oh,
so
cool.
It shows off every power-up
in one level.
Yeah,
that's
which is
cool.
quite a good way. Like Joe was saying before, they could do like an open thing.
Yeah,
with it. Maybe that's what they could do. Bigger levels with more like power-ups.
Maybe that's what they're trying to showcase.
Yeah,
cool.
But in that one, you got like this 2 Spider-Men. You got Croc, Gex, Worms. You got like just stuff that like I was like, oh yeah, they didn't add these.
Some aren't even PlayStation properties.
No,
they're just
not.
literally digging deep.
Well, Resident Evil.
But were they first on PlayStation as a game? Maybe that's why they can do it like that.
Maybe. No, Worms wasn't. Worms was PC, weren't it?
I think so, yeah. But it's in it, yeah. The only thing that was missing was Final Fantasy, I think. Weirdly.
I thought that was in it.
I think there was a Monster Hunter cat as well. I think that's one of them, Joe.
Oh, the Palicos.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like, because again, sometimes you're guessing if you haven't played the game.
Yeah, I didn't know half of them probably. I couldn't work out who they were or where they were from.
Because it doesn't tell you either. It gives you like a short little description. Like Crash
probably
Bandicoots.
a legally acceptable description.
Yeah, what's Crash Bandicoots is like something like naughty marsupial or something, and then in the description it's like not a naughty dog.
Okay, yeah, that's funny.
But to round it off, it's I see why it won Game of the Year, or Game of the Year. It's just, as I said, pure joy. It's just fun at its core.
Cool. Well, have you been playing anything else?
A little bit of other things, but I'll save those to other times.
You sure?
Yeah.
No worries. I guess
what have you been playing?
I guess it's my turn. So, I've been playing a few things. Been playing more Final Fantasy 16. Nice. I don't think I'm far enough since last time to really warrant talking about it a bit more, but the story is just really, really interesting. Really dark. I can't remember if I said it last time, but it's very Game of Thrones.
Okay, yeah.
And what I found really interesting, I was literally playing it this morning and I got to a cutscene and it sort of clicked that in this world, the icons, the big, massive monsters that people control are like atomic bombs. So it's kind of like an allegory for real life, because every time, like they were talking about a battle and they were like, why don't you just use your icon and just kill them or something? And he's like, because if I use my icon, they'll use their icon. And
oh my God, it's the Cold War.
And it's just mutually assured destruction, exactly. And every scene there's an icon being used, like innocents are just getting like eradicated in the battlefield.
Yeah.
And it has a really poignant like point to it. So I just think it's really like it's just an example of how like mature it is. It's just really dark and dour, but it's proper my cup of tea, that. Nice. So yeah, I've been playing that, but not much more to say on that. Me and Lucy played all of the Alan Wake DLCs.
Very nice. How are they?
Alan Wake 2. They were really good. They were really good. So the first one, Night Springs, it's like an episodic. There's like 3 episodes to it, if you will. Yes. None of them are linked. I don't think they're even linked to the main campaign. But you play as 3 different characters, and they're weird.
Yeah.
Really, really weird, but kind of in the best possible way. I don't obviously want to go into too much spoilers. One of them was like a really, really meta reality hopping madness sort of a thing. Really, really cool. Another one was really dark and creepy, set in Coffee World, which is a place you go into in the game, but they make it
which was
creepier.
really dark and creepy to start with.
Yeah, but they kind of make it like more psychological and strange. And another one's kind of like a funny action romp. It's really cool. But each one, when you actually get to play the main game, which I hope everyone does, every time you finish a chapter, there's a song. It's just a thing. They just like have songs, and each one of these mini episodes has a song. It's the same for each one, but me and Lucy were like jamming along every time it came on. It's like in Night Springs. It's great. So really, really enjoyed those three. They were just like kind of like palate cleansers in a way. They were like an hour long, half an hour to an hour long each. Dead easy to get through, but fun. And then there was the Lake House DLC, which was a bit of a meatier one, probably 3 to 4 hours. And that one was canon. So it takes place, it's a different character to the main two in the game, but you play as one of the characters that comes into it later. But it's her story from set just before Alan Wake 2. So it kind of ties in that way. But you're exploring this sort of like research facility. And that's really quite creepy. There's definitely parts in it that are a bit scarier than the main game. But like any survival horror, you eventually get to the point where it's not as scary. Anymore.
I don't know. The bunker was never like that.
No, but that's different. That's a unique specimen. But it was really good. It was good getting back into the world. It's been almost a year since we played it, so Lucy was loving us going back through it again.
It's nice getting back in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, and it didn't take that long to get to grips with it again. Like I was pressing buttons intuitively, so cool. Like it's L1 to dodge, for example, which is a bit weird, but it makes sense in the game, and you're always dodging. And when I was playing these, I just instinctively pressed it when someone went to attack me. It's like, oh, I've just dodged, I forgot. But it just kind of came back naturally, so that was good. But yeah, really enjoyed it. Lucy really liked it. She kind of wants to play through the main game again now, but I'm trying to put her off because we've got so many other games to go through. So we don't know what those will be yet. Yeah, I'm sure I'll talk more about those in the future. And then the other game I wanted to talk about was Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown.
Nice. Yeah, you did say you had started that.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned it last episode that I just started. Played a little bit more. So I got that on Switch for Christmas. And really enjoying it. There's not all that much more I can say on it that I've not said previously, so I'll just probably be repeating myself for anyone who's heard me talk about it before. But it plays it's Metroidvania, side-scrolling Metroidvania, which I think was a shock to a lot of people, even though that's where Prince of Persia originated. Yeah. But it was a shock to a lot of people. But you don't play as the prince in this.
Yes.
You play as another character who's basically trying to find the prince because he's been like kidnapped essentially. But it's where it's strongest is in its combat. And to be fair, it's exploration, but its combat feels, for like a 2D side-scroller game, it feels so like fluid and silky, and probably one of the best, if not the best, sort of side-scrolling combats I've played.
That's cool.
It almost mixes a bit of like Devil May Cry juggling and stuff like that, almost with the kind of button mapping and feedback to like Smash Bros. I don't know how to describe it.
I do wonder if this combat system is going to be what there's in the new Ninja Gaiden side-scrolling game that's coming out.
I hope so, because it's genuinely really good. Like, you've got loads of good combos. Say you can juggle them in the air and then you can slam them down. It's one of those where you're constantly going up and down and up and down, cool. Just like flying around, hit them in the air and hit them a load and then dash forward. And you're sort of trying to keep yourself levitated. Makes you feel fast and strong,
doesn't it?
Exactly. And you're getting loads of abilities to do stuff like that. I've only got a few. But you do get quite a lot, I believe.
That is quite cool because, like, in a lot of Metroidvanias, I wouldn't really say the combat's like the best bit.
Because I thought Ori's combat was really good and really flashy, but it was kind of a lot of repeating the same thing, just really well. Whereas this, I feel like you've got a lot of room to express yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
And then there's some really cool, like, set piece moments almost. So you've got some like special attacks which you unlock. I don't know how many there is, but they're, if you hold R trigger, whatever the button is on Switch, the R sort of trigger, and then press either X or Y, you'll do one of two special attacks, and you can change them out to different ones. But when you do them, the camera will like shifts perspective, and it'll be like it's almost like you're watching an anime. Like it'll shift perspective, sort of zoom in a bit. Your character's like eyes will glow. It'll be like big red lightning or whatever, and it'll do some really cool attack with like slightly different art style, and it looks ace. And there's a lot of like cutscenes that do it as well. So when you're like fighting bosses, if you get like a stun parry, so if you parry certain attacks, like deadly attacks, you'll get this like window where you do one of these cinematic attacks, and they just look really cool. But it's really fluid and smooth. Even on Switch, it doesn't like chug.
That's cool.
It's super smooth.
Nice.
So really enjoying the moment-to-moment gameplay. But on top of that, the world's really fun to explore, because where the combat's really, fun, intuitive, and fluid, the exploration's the same. So like, I've only got a few traversal techniques, like a jump and a mid-air dash, but I know you're going to get more stuff later. It's just that sort of game. But even with just them and like a wall run and stuff, you're finding like little puzzles where you're jumping over spikes, and it just feels really good to do.
Cool.
And I know later, I believe there's some really, really hard ones where you're using all your abilities. I believe there's like a freeze time and all this sort of stuff, and it gets really complicated but feels cool. So looking forward to get to them.
That's the best type of like side scroller platform.
Yeah,
when you get everything and everything gets thrown at you at once.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the biggest thing that this game does that every single Metroidvania needs to learn. There's a lot I think Metroidvanias can learn from this, but the one thing everything needs to learn is there's a snapshot button. So if you hold down on the D-pad, it'll take a snapshot of where you are and pin it to the map. So if there's if there's something you can't do because you don't have the ability yet, because it's a Metroidvania, you can snapshot it and come back to it later, rather than just trying to remember.
Yeah.
You did mention there was a previous game you played that had done this, but I can't remember what it was.
I think it was this, but I played the
demo. Was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is, as far as I'm aware, this is the only game that does it. I think every game needs to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Going forward.
Well, even non-Metroidvania games, there's like games where you need a power up later, that could be useful.
Yeah, exactly. Anything where you have to come back to an area and remember that.
That would have been great when I was playing Ocarina of Time for the first time.
Yeah,
exactly. You need your hook shot or something,
Exactly, yeah. I wonder why Zeldas aren't referred to in the same sort of way as Metroidvanias, or Metroidvanias aren't called Zeldas.
Or Zelda clones.
Zelda likes, because it's the same sort of mechanics, isn't it?
I suppose it was Metroid that originally did the whole side-scrolling,
return to an area with a power-up. So,
whereas Zelda's kind of like top-down, I suppose, in its originality.
Yeah, but you would call like Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor
Souls-like.
Souls-like Metroidvania is what I've heard it referred to as.
Okay, yeah, I suppose.
You're returning. Anyway,
Zelda's kind of a Metroidvania sometimes.
that's a tangent for another day.
Yes.
All I can say, really enjoying Prince of Persia. The story's a bit meh, just skipping through it.
Yeah.
But, doesn't really matter.
Gameplay is good.
Because the gameplay is great. So, that's been me.
Cool.
Me. So, with that out of the way, shall we move on to...
But it's the news.
What have we got? I think we've got a big news section.
It's only been a week since we recorded. Now, this isn't going to come out for another week, but there's been so much news in a week. What's going on?
Oh, there was nothing last episode, and this one's huge.
That's because last episode was over the holidays, and there's no news in the holidays.
That's true, but first thing in the new year. So I think one of the biggest things is CES.
The Consumer Entertainment Show.
Yeah, so it is a conference, not a conference, a convention, that's in Vegas every year. And it's primarily a tech showcase for companies.
Yes.
So Sony will go there and show the new fridge, and it can make you a brew. And then LG will show the new TV that's got a screen on the front and back and it spins, or some stupid stuff.
With a screen on the back against the wall.
Absolutely ridiculous stuff that it's sometimes come out and sometimes don't.
It's kind of like concepts. It's concepts and looking.
They did the roll-up TV, didn't they, at CES one year?
Yeah, and all that thing. But obviously, because gaming is tech, there's been a lot of gaming stuff there. Well, not a lot. It's not like a gaming convention or anything.
No, but there's been some.
There's been a few.
Is this where I've been seeing the reveals for a certain third-party accessory for a certain unreleased console?
Hey, Jake from the future here. Just wanted to quickly jump in before our Switch 2 leaks section this episode. Since recording, the Switch 2 has now been officially revealed by Nintendo. So some of this information may be a little outdated. However, we do still feel it is quite relevant. So next episode, we'll certainly be talking about the official reveal. But until then, hope you enjoy. See you next time.
Well, yeah, let's start with that.
Yeah.
So
Well, that isn't really what was shown at the show. However, the Switch 2 has been leaking like crazy, and this is probably due to it being at the show.
Just call it the Civ 2.
So there's a lot of rumors, I think, that Nintendo were there showing stuff behind closed doors, maybe. But the biggest thing is a lot of companies who make accessories for Nintendo Switch have mock-up Switch 2s.
Yes.
And they're basically just showing them to everyone. So it's really easy now to find rumors and leaks and stuff. Well, more
even
leaks.
Down to the attachment mechanisms of how the Joy-Cons work.
Yes.
That bit works.
Literally everything. There's 3D renders, there's spin arounds, there's everything you can think is out there. And Nintendo have commented on it and said it's not official. That's basically all they've said.
Things could change at any moment.
Well, I think they're basically saying all this stuff isn't provided by Nintendo officially.
Yeah,
They're not saying it's fake or anything, you know. So I think an announcement will be imminent.
I'm still going for Feb, guys.
Yeah, I won't be surprised, I think, now.
Well, it's also been, the power has been talked about as well. So it basically looks a little bit bigger, this new Switch. It's got a better screen, I believe.
I should hope so.
It is as thin as the old one, though.
Yeah, and then obviously the Joy-Con attachments, it looks like it's with magnets of sorts. It actually looks really good in the videos I've watched.
But there is also a mechanical lock on them as well to stop them snapping out, which is what I was worried about.
Is there?
Yeah.
So you snap them in and then slide
something slides into them, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, because you'd think you'd end up taking them off, wouldn't you?
You just need that jump that you weren't expecting and you end up with half of it in your hand.
Well,
Crap!
more people then should actually grab the controllers and squeeze them, like bend them, like GameCube, Game Boy. What am I talking about here?
Words.
Xbox, PlayStation. They grab the controllers and squeeze and bend, when they get frustrated. So imagine doing that with a Switch and just snapping them off.
Oh.
Screen force the ground. Oh no. But the power-wise, now a lot of people have been saying that it's somewhere between the PS4 Pro and the Xbox Series S. However, Digital Foundry have come out and said, well, I would actually more expect something along the lines of base PS4.
Yes.
For power.
Which is still way beyond the Switch.
Yes.
Yeah, I think when you look at something like the Xbox Series S, the CPU is the same, isn't it, as the Xbox Series X. So processor wise, it's very similar. But the processor is quite a small chip, but the graphics power is what obviously makes games look nicer and stuff. And that is significantly reducing the Series S to save cost. So I suspect it'll be along the same sort of lines where the processor is probably going to be quite good, but maybe the graphics processing is a bit smaller. So they'll be able to run games like physics and stuff like that more impressively than before, but the graphics don't need to be 4K.
Yeah.
So they won't be. It's probably where it should land.
Wonder if they're going to ramp up the graphics by having sort of a plug-in dock type of AMOLED TVs.
Yeah, it'll run better on the dock. Yeah. By the sounds of it.
It'd be cooler if the dock had like a portable graphics card built in. Now, I imagine they probably do the Switch 1 docks, but if you could get like upgrades to it, that'd be cool.
Well, yeah, that'd be why in handheld is 720p, but when you put it on the dock, it's 1080p.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about graphics cards.
Yes.
What else has been announced at CES?
So, Nvidia came out and announced the 50 series graphics cards.
Is that how it's pronounced? Nvidia?
It's Nvidia.
I always went with Nvidia, but I don't know if they.
Although I do believe that the spokesperson kept saying Nvidia.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
So everyone's really confused because they used to always say Nvidia. Anyway, so 50 series cards announced.
Yes.
I can't remember exactly. I think there's a 5060, the 5070, 5080, 5090, and I want to say there's a Ti somewhere in there. 5060 or 70 Ti.
At a ridiculous price as well, isn't it?
Well,
the 5090 is $2,000.
Oh my
which is
God.
probably £2,000.
Oh yeah. Cancel.
But
the
isn't the bottom
5080
range? I was going to say, isn't the bottom range version that they're releasing just way better than the 40? Was it 4070? I haven't got the numbers.
There's a bit of debate about it, but I'll get into
about
that in
500 quid rather than 1,500 quid or something
so
like that.
The lower ones are actually pretty affordable, and
Yes.
even the 5080. So most people aren't going to buy a 5090. That's like top. No
So
one
video
really
rendering
needs that,
card needed.
So the 5080 is probably the 5080 and the 5070 are where most people will end up landing. If you're pretty serious about your gaming, it's probably the 5080.
Yeah.
And that starts at $999, which is a lot, but I'm pretty sure that's cheaper than the 4080 was when it came out. I think that was like $1,200.
Yeah.
So I think price wise, they're actually pretty decent.
What you get.
I remember when was it the Titan card that released, like the 1080 Ti? Was that the Titan?
The Titan was beyond that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, that was $1,000 when that came out.
Yeah, and that was
like years ago.
10 years ago.
Like the up in performance and money's worth slightly less than it was now.
The Titan is kind of like how the 90s are now.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So it's really impressive. Now, one of the biggest things with it is DLSS 4.0.
Yeah.
So that might be where you're saying, Ben, that the lower end cards, like the 50, 60 and that, are probably pretty comparable with the 4080. Now, on performance hardware specs alone, maybe not as much, but when you include that the 50 series is the only ones capable of the DLSS, I can't remember, it's something super sampling, the AI upscaling technology, essentially. Because the 50 series are the only ones that can do that, they'll have an advantage from a software point of view over the 40 series, where you might end up getting better performance out of them.
Yeah.
So,
I did see a lot of memes of people with the 4080, I want to say, crying.
It's the same every year. Any sort of tech, especially tech that goes out of date as quickly as graphics cards does. It's probably every 2 years new ones come out. You're going to be out of date when the next one comes out, which is why for me, people, not even that long ago were probably looking at getting a 4080. I would have just waited, unless for tech, for like phones and stuff, for example. When I'm getting a new phone, if I'm ready, if my contract expires before the new one's out, I'll just wait till the new one gets out, get it on the day, and then you get the longest life cycle out of it before it's out of date. So that's what I would do, but that's just me. Because a lot of the time, the 4080s will be cheaper now, but a few months ago, they would have been the same price as they were when they came out. So you might as well just wait for the new ones to come out, and it'll be the same price as you would have paid, but you'll get...
It's this upgrade cycle that's kept me out of PC gaming. Going from
agreed,
when I had the first Xbox, I was like, well, at least I know with an Xbox, I've got like 5 or 6 years until they do another one.
I do think people oversimplify it and say that now the 48 is obsolete. It's very much not. You could get a 3070, which will still outperform a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox Series
It's not
X.
like games are going to be optimized for a 5090.
No, you just basically get the brute force. You don't need to optimize for them because they're so powerful.
Yeah.
They'll do all the work for you.
Yeah, but what I mean is like the newer cards, they have features that older cards don't have. It's not just that they're more powerful.
Yeah, I get you, but
But if they're going to release one of them every year, it's not if they did an Xbox every year that one had like the quick resume and the other one didn't. It's like, oh, well,
yeah, you want
it's like that. Yeah, you got to have that.
Yeah. However, with graphics cards, most of the time it is just performance versus graphics stuff that improves. So DLSS, all it's doing is basically making your game run better and run nicer. So the new tech that they introduce, it's doing the same thing. It's just doing it better. So if you're still running a 30 series, you've still got DLSS 2.0, and it's not going to run as good as a 50 series, but does it matter? Are you still running on max settings? Probably. Maybe not at 4K. Do you have a £2,000 monitor? No. Then 30 series is probably fine.
That's kind of where I was at with it. Just choose what I want to go for.
Yeah.
And build it to that.
Know what Joe's saying though. It's so much easier to just get a
console. It is. Yeah, and that's why I changed. I had a 900 series, whatever that was. I think a 970. It lasted me a good 6 or 7 years before it was like not running games anymore. So it did last a while, but I just didn't have the funds to upgrade it. So it's easier to go console, isn't it? It's cheaper.
Yeah,
definitely.
But I am tempted, not gonna lie.
and some games, no matter what graphics card you had, will run smoother on a console because that's what they're made for.
That's what's
Definitely.
optimized.
Like originally, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been
My
so many
biggest
bad
problem-
PC ports. My God.
Yeah.
My biggest problem now is trying to get used to, bear in mind, I've never ever used a mouse and keyboard because I've always grown up with consoles and I've lived with consoles right up until my 40th year.
Wow.
Now, I can't control a PC through a keyboard. I can't. I'm trying.
Yeah.
This is why
I'd
it's
be the
probably
same.
taken me so many hours in Factorio because I've just crap and keep falling off stuff. And
See, I like a keyboard and mouse.
I'm getting there.
Yeah. It's just, you use it for a while, you get good at it, and you can't use a controller for a bit. And then you go back on the controller and you get good at that, and you can't use a keyboard and mouse for a bit. It just takes a bit of time to get used to. My problem with like PC gaming is you're usually sat at a desk, sort of hunched
Yes.
over, keyboard and mouse starts to ache after a while. So
Prawning it.
Yeah, I genuinely think if I got a PC, for the most part, I'd put it under the TV and use a controller.
That's
like
what I
a
do.
heathen.
That's
That's what I do. It's in my living room.
Yeah.
It's running my living room now, basically.
Yeah.
I'd have to do the same because I work on a computer all day.
Yeah, same.
It's not something I want to do when I get home as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we've covered the graphics cards quite well, actually.
Yeah.
So they also showed off some, I'm going to say games, kind of like concepts for games, and kind of like showing off what they could be doing in the future. Again, take things with a pinch of salt because this whole show is about tech and showing
concepts.
off concepts and the future, or maybe not the future, what they're aiming to do.
Yeah.
So first off, there was a game shown called Black State by a new studio with just insane graphics. If you want to have a look, watch the video. I don't know what the hell the game's about, but it almost looks real.
There is actually, this game's flown under a lot of radars because you have shown a lot of gameplay of this previously, but it's usually not at conferences or conventions, or if it is, it's like in the background, so never takes center stage. But there's quite a lot of YouTube coverage of it. I think a few people have got the hands on as well.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, it's the graphics that people talk about.
Yeah.
Gameplay wise, people are like, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
You know, you can tell it's a new studio.
Well, it's double A as well. It's
Yeah.
not like a triple A experience, but still,
It's
graphics.
interesting to see what they're doing. And graphics aren't everything,
No.
but it's still interesting when people push the medium.
Yes, 100%. So now I only found this out recently, but it's pronounced Virtua Fighter.
When you say recently, do you want to say how recently?
Literally just before this podcast.
Wait, were you saying virtual fighter?
Yes.
Yeah. There's
No.
a couple
There is
episodes.
no L there.
There's
I know.
a couple episodes back when we did the Game Awards. Jake kept saying Virtual Fighter. And I was like, I need to correct him at some point. But
So me and Brad were talking before the pod, and I was like, "Oh, I'll bring up this I was going to say it again, Virtual Fighter." And he just went, you know, it's pronounced Virtua Fighter. I was like, but everyone says virtual, don't they?
It's Dave the Diver, Day of the Diver all over
Yes.
again.
Yes.
You do know there's two E's in Street Fighter as well, don't you? It's not Strat Fighter.
You know, my most embarrassing thing for this is, pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Oh, you thought it was a sheet of
A sheet of
Paper.
pay-per-view, yeah. For the longest time, like really not that many years ago, I was like, oh, it's pay-per-view.
My brain puts a P in Vimpto.
yes.
So does a lot of
very much
people,
so.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
To be fair, same. Yeah. So Virtua Fighter, the new one, got like a demonstration. Now it wasn't actually gameplay, but I think it was like in-engine.
Yeah.
It's like a recorded match.
No, it's like what they're aiming for the game to look like.
Yeah, and it looked like a proper fight. It was strange.
Yeah, it
like
did
there was
look good.
blocks, there was like parries and stuff like that. I don't know how that would work in game, in a fighting game like that, but it did look good. Again, another one to go and watch if you're interested in fighting games. Hopefully they get to realizing that
Vision.
potential.
Yeah.
But apparently there's going to be loads more shown this year. So
Cool. Well, it must be further along development than I think I thought it was.
I thought it was right at the start, but
Yeah.
it sounds like they've been working on it a while. Yeah. And then finally, a company called We Made. is making a game with AI learning bosses.
Oh, yes, I've seen this.
I don't
So
know
they'll
how
adapt to your fighting style to beat you.
Well,
Yeah.
this is it. I don't know how I feel about this because I'm not like always opposed. I'm on the fence with AI. I think in some ways it's very good, in some ways it's pretty bad.
Well, AI is used in games as in like, you always talk about the AI of enemies.
Yes, yeah,
You know what I
exactly. But this is like, it learns. It's like AI learning. And I just don't know, won't it get...
Impossible.
Yeah, won't it get to the point where you cannot beat it?
Well, I don't
that's
know.
exactly what happened with Amiibo fighters in Smash Brothers. They got so good, they were almost impossible to beat.
Really?
Yeah, I did hear about that.
When you finally get it from level 49 to 50, it's like impossible.
How does it work? Like for this game, does it learn off everyone in the world, or is it just exclusively your
Do you know what?
game state?
I can't tell you.
I would hope if it's a single player game, it's just learning.
I think it's
off you.
multiplayer. I'm sure there's like 4 people.
There was more. Yeah, there's multiple people fighting this boss when they showed it off.
I think
But there's
it's a
only
cool
ever so many
idea.
tactics you can have, isn't there?
Yeah. I think it's a cool idea in the sense that it'll keep you on your toes, and you can't really find exploits for it as much because it'll punish you for doing so. But they need to somehow come up with a ceiling, and I feel like if you're artificially putting a ceiling in, then
it'll come to the point where you're basically reading frame data to know what you can do at a time.
Yeah. But I feel like if the developers are like limiting it, then they know what it can do, and they kind of at that point basically just programming it because they're saying you can't do this and you can't do that.
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting to see. I always sort of find with bosses that it's almost good that they've only got a limited wheelhouse, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because learning the boss is part of the
experience. But then again, if it is held back and it's only got so many moves, what can it do? It's just what it can do with those moves.
Imagine if it did learn off everyone and you pick up the game like a year late. You think, oh, I'm going to give this a go. Get wrecked by the first normal like boss.
Maybe it'll just spam a move that it knows is way too overpowered.
Yeah.
Once it learns that's the best move. I don't know.
It'll be interesting to watch, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anymore.
It's going to learn a stun lock mechanic first thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just can't move when you're in the arena with it.
But how does it work when the company, what's the word, like buff and nerf and basically make updates?
Oh, they do balance patches.
Exactly. Does that then need to learn itself in real time? Or?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll find out if it happens.
So something I saw at CES was Sony's vision of the gaming future. Had you seen this?
I have not, no.
They created like what they imagine an immersive gaming room to look like in the future.
The holodeck.
No, well, it was basically apparently a room full of LED panels.
Yeah.
And smells.
Okay.
Oh yes, I've heard about the smells thing.
Yeah, that describes every room that I game in at the minute.
This one's smells coming from the game, not your arse. So, so you'd be playing. It was just a write-up. I've not seen anything physically about it, but it was like, you can smell The Last of Us. That sounds horrendous.
No thanks.
Resident Evil 4.
Yeah. I don't see it ever coming to anyone's home anytime soon, but hey-ho.
It's cool. Like a destination thing to go to.
Exactly. I think it would be easier for them to do improved VR spaces.
Yes.
Than convert a whole room. But
yeah,
they have done 4D cinemas that have smell though.
Yeah.
4D
Shrek and stuff like that.
Yeah. Smell that swamp.
Puff of air in your face.
I think it's easier when you're watching a film where they can do the smell at the exact moment. Whereas
they can time
it
beforehand.
Yeah, it's a game you're controlling it. So
also, how do you have to keep like loading in smells? I just don't know.
Well, I think it'd be like a printer where you have multiple smell cartridges that mix and match to make different smells.
But you'd have to replace those.
You would,
interesting.
Per game.
Well, speaking of Sony, the last thing I wanted to talk about from the show was Sony came out to show they're making a few new movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
So there was 3 specifically mentioned. There was, of course, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, retelling the story of the first one again.
Is it film or TV?
Film. There was a TV show with Netflix in production that got cancelled.
Okay.
So I don't know whether they're going to reuse any of that to make the film, but no, it's film.
It makes more sense as a film to me because the budget needed for a TV show would have been crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Is it
hopefully it's
live action or animated?
Live action.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully it's good. It could make a good film, actually.
Yeah. Good spectacle film, yeah.
Definitely. But we'll see. They're not the best. I didn't.
No.
I haven't watched Uncharted, but I've heard very mixed things.
It was
about
fine.
that.
I loved that film.
I enjoyed it.
It was fun.
fine, yeah. If you've played the games, you have to pretend it's not the games.
It definitely should have been Mark Wahlberg as the guy rather than Tom Holland. But
Yeah.
still.
Maybe. I think Tom Holland did a good job of like a younger Drake. I think he played it well, but
Also, it like mixed and matched which game, didn't it?
it was
So,
yeah.
It was
I think-
almost like before the games, but then it had a bit from
Uncharted,
3
the
in it.
film is better if you've not played the games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, watching the film is going to get you to play the game. I think that's the idea.
Yeah, definitely.
There's also going to be a Helldivers film. Now, I've
never
made
seen
this.
a Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Helldivers film.
There's about 4 of those.
I've made this joke in the Discord in person to everybody, but I'm going to do it again. Isn't there already a Helldivers film
Yeah,
called Starship Troopers?
there is. Although there was only one good one.
Yes,
So
The first one.
Yeah.
The first one.
So
Yeah.
I would not like to know more.
it's weird, isn't it? Because Helldivers is heavily inspired by Starship Troopers
Yes,
film, because the book's completely different, I believe.
yes, it is. Yeah,
The
it's way
film's
more
like-
serious.
Yeah, the film's like satire of the books.
yeah, almost.
Um,
Yeah,
So Helldivers being so inspired by a film and then making a film feels a bit weird, but
it does.
you know,
It does.
Starship Troopers is old.
Well, I was
Unless
thinking,
their one
yeah.
isn't a satire.
Refresh is
Like the
fun
game
anyway.
is.
they
Do
completely
the opposite
flip it.
way around.
They do
Yeah.
it very serious, yeah.
I did hear they're remaking Starship Troopers, so
Oh, that'll
it could be
go head to head
weird.
then.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, it's been so long since Starship Troopers that people would actually be really wanting to see this,
Mm.
because it's like harkening back.
Well, I hope
but
they do
we'll
the
see.
whole training montage and stuff like that because
Yeah.
it's hilarious.
Yeah. But again, that is so indebted to Starship
Yeah,
Troopers. So will
agreed.
it just feel like you're watching the
remake.
same film? Yeah. Maybe they've taken the remake of Starship Troopers and just changed the branding.
Just put the little skulls everywhere. Oh, nice. And then the last one is actually an anime, not a TV show.
Yeah.
And this is probably the one I'm most excited for. It's Ghost of Tsushima.
But it's
the Legends mode.
Legends mode, yeah.
So it's not about like Jin Sakai, I don't think.
No.
I think it's more about the legend of the ghosts. And it's a
Yeah.
bit more fantasy-esque.
Have they
Which I
gone in
think
depth
will
with
work.
what kind of anime animation it is? Is it like Blue Eye Samurai or is it more like
I think
2D
they've
animation?
just said anime.
Yeah, they've
Oh,
just said
okay.
anime. And it's
Yeah, I
coming
don't
to
think they've
Crunchyroll.
even done like a anime house who's making it yet, have they?
I don't think
Oh,
so.
okay.
So
No, it's literally just announced. So
'Cause
all
Blue
these
Eye Samurai
things-
is very good.
It is. I think it'll be more traditional anime, like Japanese.
yeah, I don't think they
anime.
would have called it an anime if it was Blue Eye Samurai style, because I wouldn't class that as an anime.
It's animated, I suppose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's quite Western.
yes,
Even though
Yeah,
it's got an Eastern theme, it's
Yeah.
Western
yeah,
anime.
definitely.
Yeah.
So that was it from the CES show.
Yeah.
But there is more news. There's a lot. There's been a lot, guys. So probably the biggest news is that Assassin's Creed Shadows has been delayed again. Now, who
Again?
said this? Because I'm sure somebody said this.
What in the predictions?
Yeah,
I don't know. It's only a month, I think, isn't it? It's from
March
February
20th.
to March. Yeah. A delayed game, maybe.
What
a
can they
great
change
game,
in that
you know,
time? Really?
Polishing it. I think they can't risk
Structure
this
of the
game.
company.
Yeah.
They can't risk the game coming out unpolished.
I think it's a bit of that, and it's a bit of like February stacked. I
Yeah.
reckon they're like, well, if we move it to March, maybe people will play it.
Well, by
I
the
don't
sounds of
know.
it, Ubisoft is really hinging everything on this game.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of rumors of buyout at the moment. There's a lot of rumors they are basically looking to sell. How did they word it? Like they're looking to make the company present as
More palatable.
yeah, and like worth more essentially.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of IP that they've got that they're wanting to make seem more profitable or more appealing. So maybe they'll sell off IP, but they
Yeah.
have so much IP. I want
Yeah.
to see someone do something with it.
Well, that's it, because they're only making like the same game basically again and again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they sold off some of the IPs, it might actually be better for them, or just get bought out entirely.
Yeah. Last year for Ubisoft was rough. Like,
weirdly, Prince of Persia came out early in the year, and it was really good.
It was, but it didn't sell very good.
Yeah.
And it shut the whole studio down. And then every other game they made afterwards.
But is that more because they were expecting mega sales?
I just think they didn't promote it very well.
Yeah. Ubisoft.
Yeah. Very poorly managed.
I think they'll be in the news for a couple of months.
While. Yeah.
But the delay's happening. Hopefully it fixes whatever is going to happen. I don't think it's going to fix everything in a month, but we'll see.
It might just be to get it away from the likes of Monster Hunter.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
It is a big game.
Yeah.
It is. So the only other little bit of news is there are some demos available, or going to be available in January. Big one for Joe, Monster Hunter. He's getting the second demo.
I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. They've not said when.
No, they've just said basically look forward to the second
game comes out in Feb, so it's going to be soon.
Yeah.
I reckon the next 2 weeks it'll be out.
Yeah,
I think so.
I'll try and jump on if we've got time.
I think by the end of Jan, I think it'll be out.
These demos never stick around, do they?
No, they. Actually, I think there was a time where you could get on the Monster Hunter World one for quite a time after the game came out.
If that's the case, then I might play it later.
Yeah,
because I'd like to give it a go, but we'll see.
Also, The Last Berserker Kazan, that's getting a demo soon.
I want to say the 16th of Jan.
I think it is, yeah.
So that'll be out by the time this episode's out.
Yes, yeah. Cool. So I'll probably jump into that, see how it is. Because to me, like, I'm already quite sold on it, but I do want to know how it plays.
Yeah, you want to get a hand on it.
Yeah. And then it's not quite a demo, but Elden Ring Night Rain, you can sign up for the
network test.
Yes.
Yeah, so they've done this. I want to say they've done it for most of their games, but they definitely did it for Elden Ring, where it's I suppose you could look at it like a beta, where you sign up and hope you get access, but it's to test the servers and a bit of like balancing and stuff. So I've applied. Hopefully I'll get it. Probably won't.
I need to apply myself. But that was it for news, I think, guys. Does anyone else have anything?
Not from me.
No, not from me.
No, nothing from me.
No, shall we do the socials then?
I think we should. Take it away.
You can find us on any social media platform pretty much. So we're on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. Yes. You can also just Google us. Google Gaming Garnish or Gaming Garnish Podcast and you'll find us quite easily. We will have a website. Don't go on it yet because it's not ready. And if you want to ask us any questions, join us on the Discord or send us an email at gaminggarnish@gmail.com.
Yeah.
That's relatively smooth. You're a lot smoother at them socials than I am.
It's just practice now, I think. We're getting better.
We're in year 3 or something and I still can't do it.
He has a script stapled to the wall.
Which doesn't help because it's in my handwriting.
Well, I complimented you guys at the beginning, so I'll take that. So shall we move on to this month's Buried by Backlog?
I think we should. It took us a long time to get to this one.
I know. When I say this month, it's kind of like past 2 months because I don't know when we picked it. Well, the community picked it. So this month is a community picked Buried by Backlog, and it was Martin who picked it. So thank you very much for that. We spun the wheel and it landed on Yakuza Like a Dragon.
It did.
So I want to hear your thoughts. Early thoughts.
This is a fun game.
It is.
I'm having a great time.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous.
It's ridiculous in all the best ways. Long though.
Yeah,
long.
Well, I've heard a lot about Yakuza games from various people online, always saying they're incredible games. And to be perfectly honest, I've never wanted to play them. They've never seemed like my cup of tea. And then when they turned to turn-based combat, I thought it's a nail in the coffin for me. I don't really like turn-based combat. You know, I would have preferred it if they carried on with a brawler style. So when this landed on the wheel, I thought, 100 hours of a game I really don't want to play. Great. Anyway, I really liked it. I really, really, really liked it. It's just stupid, but serious.
I was a bit meh about it until it unveils how people really are, like in his head.
Yes,
Yeah.
when they transform.
Yeah.
So me and Jake played it quite early on, didn't we? When it was set, and we got quite far, and I think we sort of set the precedent to the rest of the team that we should get to at least chapter 4.
Yes.
Because up until then, things are just being introduced all the time, and things are changing quite a lot. And I think it's around chapter 4 that you start to get a better feel for the game.
It's the first time it opens up, I think.
Yeah.
Properly opens up.
Which unfortunately takes about 10 hours to get to.
Well, maybe not 10, 6, 7.
6 or 7 hours.
Yeah.
So it's a long road
time
to get there. However, I still really enjoyed that that opening 6-7 hours, just because of, although the gameplay was a bit repetitive at that point, it was funny.
Oh yeah.
And
the mood and atmosphere switches every 10 minutes. It's great.
And
it's like hilarious then deadly serious, and hilarious then deadly serious.
I can't remember if it was the last community game, Fable. Was that the last community game? Or the one before that?
Yeah.
But when we played Fable, I actually disliked how quickly the vibe changed. It went from super serious to super silly. But I feel like this one nails it. Yakuza really nails it. Because it's really sensitive when it needs to be, and then it's ridiculous. How does the game start again? You're running through the streets and you're being chased by someone.
No, you're chasing somebody.
You're chasing someone
who's sold animal videos to kids who are looking to buy porn.
And I was just like, my jaw was agape, but I was like, what am I playing?
When you tackle him, he calls you like a ball bag or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, he calls you something stupid.
Yeah.
Some like really funny insult that you've not really hear in games.
Yeah.
Really, really stupid. So how are we going to break this one down?
Well, I was thinking we do world, gameplay, story, and characters and graphics.
Yeah.
But we also have a few words from Martin before we kick off into it. We actually asked him, like, why did you pick to play the game, and why did you ask us to play the game? So I'll quickly read all that out. It's quite a lengthy message he sent us, so I'll try my best to read it all perfectly. We'll see. So he says, I originally chose the game to play as I wanted a slower paced game where I could take my time, and the idea of turn-based combat drew me in. I'd only briefly played Yakuza 3, and seeing as there are plenty of Yakuza games, I thought there may be something in this. Now, I knew the previous game didn't have turn-based combat, whereas this one did, and is fully English voiced, as opposed to subtitles as the other Yakuza games are.
Which I didn't realise.
Which I didn't know either, because I'm very new to Yakuza. I think we all are.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought the voice acting was really good, like to the point where I was surprised, because usually for these type of games, people are, you've got to, don't watch it dubbed, you've got to play it with the original voice.
Feel for the voice power.
Yeah, but I don't know if it was even an option in this, but I just thought, actually, these voices are really, really good.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying them. Yeah.
So he's also put some plus and minus points. Do you want to go over those now or near the end?
We'll do them as we get to them in the breakdown,
okay. But I'll just quickly say then why the reason for choosing the game for us guys. So he said it's basically the sheer size and the variety of gameplay available inside the game, from karting to golf and much more. There are not many games like it. It's a great starting point to get into Yakuza, which I fully agree with. I certainly had fun, and I hope you all do too. Now, really interested to see what your thoughts of the game are.
I do apologise, none of us completed it.
No.
Because I think that was probably unrealistic. It's like 100 hours or something.
Yeah.
I think
we had 6 weeks, basically.
Yeah.
Well, those 6 weeks weren't our own time, basically, were they?
Exactly. But I still played it a lot more than I anticipated to, because I just enjoyed it. I wanted to keep playing it. And I will say that I do plan on getting back to it. I've got a bunch of games that I wanted to get to, like that, the ones that I got for Christmas, but I do intend to at some point get back to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So shall we start with World then?
The World, yeah. Straight off the bat, having been to Japan, it is surprisingly looks just like.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about this, like, because you recently went. Yeah. I was like, how many of the streets had the same feel and vibe as the ones you walked down?
It's straight from the get go. I was like, wow. I actually called Dulcie and was like, this looks like Japan, doesn't it? Like, this looks like some streets that we walked down. they've done an incredible job. Now, obviously, they're based in Japan. I imagine it's a bit easier for them to do, but it just nails that vibe, which I don't think a lot of games like this do when they do big cities.
The only one I can think of is Spider-Man with New York.
Yeah.
And there's been so many games set in New York, and they just never quite get it, but Spider-Man did.
Yeah, but most of that game, you're swinging about.
You
don't get the street level feel.
But this is very street level, and you feel like you're in the streets of Japan. Yeah.
Yeah, and you start off, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but you start off in a different area to what you end up. So that map is quite small. And to be honest, I think the second map's pretty small. I don't know whether it expands, but it's definitely a limited scope, at least as far as we are.
I'm assuming there's multiple areas, but
but I don't think it needs any more.
No,
well, those areas are quite dense with stuff to do as well.
And there's dungeons as well, isn't there? So that
so
changes the map.
And then you'll be mapped within maps, sort of thing.
Yes, definitely. And a lot of the buildings you can just walk in. Have you noticed?
Yeah.
Like the shops.
And you go upstairs into the offices, and there's stuff in there, like a gold
never
safe.
Even tried that.
Yeah, like there was this bar, and I was like, I'll just see if I can just go in, and you can just go in.
That's cool. It makes
you
it
can't
really
do anything.
Dense,
You can't necessarily do everything in there, but you can just walk in.
See,
and there's like people in there.
Yeah,
I only ever tried with the ones with like icons. Where you
tell
there was something in there.
Like the arcade. The arcade had actual arcade games in it. You could go on. I was like, this is incredible. I was playing Virtua Fighter.
Yeah, same.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to spend. I didn't want to spend any of my in-game money on it, so I didn't.
Oh yeah, it's hard to get in it at the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't in the end, but there was plenty of other stuff, like stupid stuff in the world to do. Talking to mini games, did anyone do the Rams?
Yes.
The what?
The Rams. So there was I was just walking around and a notification popped up and there was like a cinema. So you could go in, you talk to a guy and you'd watch like old films.
Yeah.
And he was like saying how no one wants to see old films anymore. Everyone says they're boring or something.
And they keep falling asleep in the cinema.
When you're in there, you have to try and stay awake. And these like Rams just like pop up.
In suits. Like humanoid ram heads.
Oh, like counting sheep.
Like counting sheep, and they're trying to put you to sleep, and they'll come up with like a button. It's just like a button pressing mini game. So it'll be like a square, and you press square, triangle, and you have to press it in time.
Yeah,
but it was so stupid. It was so funny.
The fact I did not see it coming. You sit down in the cinema to watch this film, and you start nodding off, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, I'm getting put into a mini game," and then this just suit wearing ram appears behind you and just you're like,
so obscure.
What?
But yeah, it's stupid, but it's funny.
Definitely.
No, my favourite mini game's got to be the can collecting bike Pac-Man game.
Yes, that was good. So that's right game. But again, stupid, but actually plays really well.
It does.
Like, it has no right to be as entertaining as it is.
Yes, it's like ramming the other people.
Yeah, so you go around
steal all their cans. Yeah. That could be a game mode in Mario Kart.
Yeah, so you're collecting cans because you're homeless, and cans are like currency. So you're collecting cans, and there's other homeless people on bikes collecting cans. Yeah, you ram into them, they drop all the cans, and
you get a turbo boost if you pick up the right pill packet.
Which, to be fair, I think those two are the only big mini games I tried. I did try the arcade.
Yeah. So Martin mentions a few more later, like
go-kart
and go-kart, which we just didn't get to.
Yeah.
Maybe we did and didn't see them, but
but a lot of them are like the side quests are like speech bubbles on the map, aren't they?
Yes,
a lot of them. A lot of them are tied to side quests. So, and most of the time, I was only doing the side quests if I was walking down the street. I'd be, I'll just do this while I'm here, because I wasn't really checking the map that much.
Yeah.
And that's when you would get introduced to the.
I found an issue with the map, for me, because the map didn't run like a sat nav, as in always stayed behind the character.
100%.
I liked this because it stayed with the north, west, south, east.
I can't do it. I like it exactly as Ben says, where it turns around with you. So if your arrow's pointing one way, you turn left and your arrow will turn left. Whereas in that...
There's that many games lately that have been like that. My brain wasn't adapting to...
couldn't figure out. Yeah, like, I know I need to go down this alley. In the 3D world, I can't quite tell where it is in relation to the map. And you turn and it was very confusing. But... you could kind of get used to it after a while.
You did get used to it, but it was just a bit of a pig.
Yeah. Talking about side quests, though, there was one I had to do because you had to make money for this one. For the end of chapter 4, you had to basically make loads of money to do the dungeon.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys did the dungeon.
Is that to get into that folks' home?
No, it's to get into the...
After the folks' home.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's to get into like a Yakuza base sort of thing.
Yeah.
You have to basically make loads of money, get loads of gear, and then you can get into the dungeon. And there was one side quest that's really good for making money, and it's so funny.
Is this the baby formula?
It's the baby Formula One.
That's the quest I'm about to do now.
I don't even want to spoil it, but I do, but I don't. Let me just say, it is ridiculous. It does not go where you expect it to go.
And that's a lot of the game. That's a lot of the side quests. Have you got the hero?
Pound Mates.
Pound Mates.
Yeah, Pound Mates was hilarious.
The summons.
You're walking around and you pick up this leaflet from the floor, and it looks like
it looks like a sex shop.
Yeah, and you're getting like a brothel, so you'd call like prostitutes is what it looks like, and here's list of numbers on there, and then it says like first one's free, so you call it, and then you get attacked by random people, and this ginormous black guy jumps from the ceiling and pounds down and is like, Pound Mates.
Yeah, thanks for calling Pound Mates.
Yeah, he's called,
first one's free.
What's he called? Buster something.
Gary Buster Hose.
And he's huge, and he just like one-shots all the enemies.
With massive chain spikes on his hands.
And it's just so silly.
But that it's such a good way of introducing that, like, this is how you summon.
Yeah.
And just the fact that it's just a random side quest that you walk past.
Yeah.
As well.
It's ridiculous.
I love when he's actually using the phone to summon him. He's doing like all these Doctor Strange handshakes, and then he finally presses send on the
phone. It's just a crazy. And then the Pokemon one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole like
Professor Broke.
whole Pokemon minigame where you have to go around and dispatch them all.
Because
Yeah.
at first I wasn't really like clicking, and then like when you get back to his like place, it all started clicking.
Yes,
and it just kept getting more and more obvious.
Yeah, but funny. Every single joke landed. Every single ridiculous thing that landed up until this point. There's been a lot, as you can tell. I imagine there's probably going to be a lot more going forward, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they are because they're so entertaining.
Yeah. And then the world as well is like, obviously, it's very serious. It looks like Japan and everything. But then to the main character, as you were alluding to before, once you get to chapter 4, when you're getting fights, he starts seeing people transform.
He's finally becoming honest with his friends, and that he sees life as a game. So he has a chat with the wizard.
The character canonically loves Dragon Quest.
Yeah, he wants to be part of Dragon Quest, doesn't he? He wants to be a hero.
Yeah.
So it's like he's had a psychological break, and all of a sudden the world.
It describes it as his imagination.
You got to level up in life.
Yeah. It's like his imagination, isn't it? That's changing these people. And I think it's a really creative way of.
No words can describe what happens in your brain when you see a businessman suddenly wearing Speedos and a Lilo slipping his way over to you, ready to give you a backhanded slap.
But it works so well for the character because he's so nice.
Yes.
He's just such a nice guy that you just...
What a nice boy.
Yeah.
Should we go on to the characters?
Yeah.
The characters.
Oh, yeah.
Next.
I think they're really well written.
I wasn't too sure at first because I was like, this guy's a dumbass. But it's very quickly
he's so lovable.
For me. Yeah, I was just about to say that. He's just a lovable buffoon.
Yeah.
And
everything he does, he means well.
Yeah, he's got an absolute heart of gold. And to be honest, he fears nothing as well. He's got like everyone's best interests at heart. And
that's because he's the hero and he wants to protect everybody.
Yeah, and because of this Dragon Quest like story as well, that he's played Dragon Quest in the past and he wants to be a hero, it just works really well. And I actually really like him now. I was like, I really like Ichiban.
Yeah,
I like that becomes his character class as well.
Yes,
like in the stat screen, he is hero.
Definitely, yeah.
I like the idea of him being so out of touch because he has time away without ruining the story, but he's out of touch with technology, he's out of touch with everything, doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah, because I didn't expect that from the game either. That was a really good twist.
That really builds on the character.
Definitely.
There was actually loads of good twists as well from a story perspective.
Yeah.
Characters aren't what you expect them to be, and there's constantly it's constantly twisting and turning, and I'm invested to see what happens. And sometimes, like we said like earlier, it's stupid and funny and ridiculous.
But it all makes sense in the grand scheme.
And sometimes it's really heartfelt and serious.
Yes.
And then really dark.
Yeah. But it really does nail it. And then I can't spoil it because you guys aren't there, but I just got an achievement popped at a really dark moment, but the achievement was called something probably insensitive, but really funny. Having a really serious moment, its achievement pops out. Oh, God.
What was the achievement called?
I can't because it's a spoiler. Sorry.
It is fun. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's dark but funny. But the story, as you were saying, it's so ridiculous. There's so much humor in it, but then out of nowhere, it's just very heartfelt and very serious.
But that's because of the characters a lot of the time.
Definitely. Yeah. Anything else you want to say about the story as a whole?
Yes, I did not go into this expecting to watch 10 hours of a Japanese serial drama and love it, every minute of it. I'm like, I really want to know what's going to happen next to Ishima.
I'm the first one. Yeah. I'm the first one that starts skipping. Always. I'm like, right, this is getting too long now. Skip. And I found I didn't with it.
Yeah. There was some moments. Yeah. Sometimes what is a bit jarring is you'll have a really like well voice acted and presented cutscene, and then all of a sudden the same scene will be text driven.
Which is like the first line.
A bit disconnected.
And they're saying their canned phrases.
I don't know why it does that.
It's a bit all over the place in that regard. And I feel like that's one of its down points is because I don't know, maybe they just didn't have enough time to voice everything because it's such a massive game. But it does feel a bit like, why not just relegate those to like side quests and then have all the main quest voice, but then it just randomly changes.
Yeah, so it can be a bit disjointed in that way sometimes. But I agree with Joe. Like, I didn't expect to, I said earlier, I did not expect to like this game. Yeah. When it first started, I thought, this is funny, but I'm not going to be invested.
Yeah.
And then
now you're invested.
I'm invested and it's still funny.
Yeah. No, exactly the same. It's almost like Japanese EastEnders.
Yeah. But good.
But good. Yeah. So should we get to the combat and the overall gameplay? We kind of touched on the mini games.
Yeah. So I think the combat is probably its weakest part.
You see, saying that, I thought that when I got into it, but even though it's turn-based, you can play it really fast if you memorize where all your buttons are.
Yeah, definitely. And
so it doesn't feel turn-based.
It takes a while.
There's like 10 characters you're fighting.
Yeah. It takes a while to get into it because when it first starts and you're just Ichiban, you've only got a few moves.
Yeah.
You only get a few people. It can be a bit slow. Then you get one other character and it still feels a bit slow. I'm just at the point now with a full party. I've not fought with a full party. I've only fought with 3 of us. So
I have.
Don't know if it'll change.
Chapter 5, you get the final person.
Yeah.
So you guys are all in chapter 4, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got the wizard and the tank guy.
Yeah. So all the chapter 4s are all 3 of them basically. And then chapter 5 literally starts with the
which is where I
person.
am now.
Now I've done a little bit past that just to see how they fight, and they all fight very differently.
Yeah,
they all have roles, as Joe's saying. They're not actually wizards in a tank.
No,
but they play like that. There's like he's like a healer, isn't he? And then the other guys, he takes more damage, but he does that more damage as well.
What I like as well with part of the combat is some attacks you'll have to have button presses as well. So you'll do a certain special attack and you'll have to spam square, or they'll attack and you press circle at the right time to perfect block.
This was a new thing for me because I've not played a turn-based game where you're free to move.
Well,
you're not free to move. They move on their own.
No, but you're if you wait, you're interacting. That's what I'm trying to say. If you wait, they're moving around, so your hit would land better. So
and there's some attacks you can hit multiple people.
Yeah, the mega swing. So just wait till they spread a little bit.
Good. Or the tank guy can like charge. So if you line a few people up, it'll do a lot of damage. And I really, really like that. However, to your point about not being able to move freely, that's one of the biggest letdowns for me. Because if you're going to introduce that mechanic of lining people up, you should be able to move. Even if I get you can't move too much, but just being able to move side to side,
like angle where you're looking.
Yeah, I think that would make a massive difference. Or when you press the attack, you can sort of like turn,
aim it.
Yeah.
Rather than
I have found by selecting a different enemy to fight, they do move position.
A little bit, but it's a bit unreliable. And sometimes you're literally waiting for ages for one person to move, and then another person moves out the way, or you think you're lined up and you do your charge attack and it misses one person, and it just can be a bit unreliable.
And then it's like there's interactive things in the environment too.
I was going to say, I really like the positioning. I'm just going to go down that road.
Swinging a bike at somebody.
Yeah, if you're stood behind a bike, you'll pick the bike up and swing it at them.
Yeah, but that would work better if you could move as well, because I never know if I'm going to actually pick the bike up.
Yeah, if you could select it as well, like pick bike up, attack.
I think it would do well with that you'd also have a move mechanic in it, so you could move so far, like it kind of does in
like in Baldur's Gate.
Baldur's Gate does it, XCOM does it. You move and then shoot, or if it had that sort of like mechanic. But then it's hard because at the same time it feels fluid that people are moving around.
Yes.
So maybe if you could just move a little bit, but they're still moving about.
Because I feel like their AI is probably lining you up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably do.
Disadvantaged.
And I like that if you're just doing a normal attack and someone else moves in your way, they can actually stop you. Like they would do. They wouldn't just wait to be attacked.
Yes.
Pyro, burning everything.
Yeah.
Yes, he's walked in front of me.
Vodka breath. Go.
What did you guys think to like the random encounters where you'd be walking around the street?
I think there's a bit too many.
I had a moment with that too.
I took every opportunity to fight. Yeah. I love it.
I was doing great, and I was one-hitting people, and it was fantastic. And then all of a sudden, everybody kicked my backside. I don't know what happened. It was
it
the side of town.
Iron Fist dude?
Yeah, absolutely.
He killed me immediately.
Yeah, there was one fight particularly where I was kicking everyone's ass, and then all of a sudden they came, and could not.
Wrong side of town, I think it is.
Yeah.
I think
that's to teach you more about the Gary Buster Holmes fella. I immediately got that after I did that fight.
Oh, see, I didn't.
Right.
I didn't.
Yeah.
It tells you how it kind of gets stars out where you are when you are on the map. It gives you like 1, 2 star, 3 star, and that kind of tells you like the threat level in the area.
I realized that.
So that might be a thing as well.
But you know what it
reminded me?
I'm
trying to find the right amount of money because I'm still money building to go into the dungeon. Yeah. So I'm trying to find the right amount of money for each fight because I don't want to get a couple of hundred per fight. Obviously, you can get about $1,000 in my level.
Do the baby.
Yeah. Oh, well, I've triggered it.
Yeah, do it because you get like
can't
10
find it.
Yeah,
you get loads.
Some of them you have to go onto the map and like find out. I think the blue speech bubbles are like continuing quests.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So if you
get some wooden nails for the guy, that's what I can't find where to do that.
But there was moments where I found it reminded me a little bit of like a mature Pokemon game, like the way the city's quite grid based, and if you walk in front of an enemy, they'll like spot you. You know, like in Pokemon when you walk past someone and they spot you and they come up to you, and especially in the dungeons, the dungeons felt really like Pokemon-esque, where you're going through them with a set amount of health that you need to top up with potions or go back and heal.
How much health did you lose getting run over?
I did once.
All the goddamn time. Yeah. I don't even realise.
Oh, all the cars have stopped for me. I've not been run over once.
Crossings. You wait at crossings.
If you just leg it across, you'll get run over, and it takes like 100 HP off you.
Jeez.
So I actually found that I was waiting at crossings. I was actually walking through the street just like a actual person, waiting at crossings, crossing the road,
blending in with the NPCs.
Just to bring up more of the gameplay, I think some of the moves are very creative as well.
Yeah.
Like
they work for those characters.
They work for those characters, like the fire
pigeon.
The pigeons.
The pigeons.
Everything to do with his character is funny because to heal himself, he naps.
Yeah. He just like drops to the floor and
lays down.
So it is really like even like the buffs and stuff, like it's them like being friendly or being aggressive in their like character. It's in character.
Yes.
All in character.
I love when you go up to someone and they call for backup, but no one answers the phone.
I know.
Or like they're out of service or something like that, and no one's coming.
It's so good. I do believe because Infinite Wealth's just come out, hasn't it? Which is this time last year it came out, which is the sequel to this game.
Yeah.
And I
Is it
believe
not
that-
this game again?
No,
think so, no.
it is a
Oh.
sequel because the
Yeah.
original main character from the other Yakuza games is in it as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's both of them. It's Ichiban and I can't remember his name from
I
the
can't,
originals,
yeah.
but it's him as well.
But I believe they've improved combat quite significantly. That's one of the biggest improvements
That's
between
cool.
this one and that one. So I would like to play it.
Yeah.
But we need to get through this one first.
Yeah.
So what's your next point on the agenda?
So lastly is graphics. Now
It's a mixed bag.
it's a mixed bag. I don't want to say it's got the best graphics, but it's good. It's good enough for what it is.
It's really strange because sometimes some of the characters are incredible.
Yes.
And like the facial animation on this and the details really good.
Of the boss guy
Of the boss.
at the beginning,
yeah.
like the guy who keeps
Yeah,
calling
yeah.
boss.
Yeah.
He's-
And he's
like a one-for-one representation of the
Yeah.
character actor.
I feel like a lot of the main cast are basically really good. And then all the side characters are like PS3.
Yeah.
Some of the world is really bad.
Yeah.
But
Smooth faces as well. Very smooth
Yeah.
faces.
the eyes.
The eyes are the worst.
The eyes.
But to me, it kind of adds to the humor.
Well, yeah.
Especially when something shocking happens and
Ichiban's
Ichiban's eyes just grow massive and you're like, oh my god.
the most expressive eyes I've ever seen in a game. But
I wonder if that's a little bit meta, like with the graphics of the main characters, because he's in a game with his own world. Of course, all the
Maybe,
main
yeah.
characters are going to look better.
yeah, you could definitely argue that. I don't know whether it probably is, but I think it's a good argument for that to be the case.
Because like even the enemies out on the street don't look as high res as Ichiban does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. But yeah, it's just something I noticed. It was definitely inconsistent when it came to like graphics, but he didn't really mind.
It didn't take
No.
you out of it.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
No.
You're not playing it for the graphics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we move on to our final thoughts, let's hear what Martin has to say for his
Okay.
pros and cons.
He says, plus points. The story and humour, very stupid and ridiculous. Agreed.
Yes.
Whilst the story has a subtle, serious undertone, it's overlaid with ridiculous, outrageous humour. The characters are superbly written, all with their own clear identity and backstory. The open world-ish environment, with a vast amount of in-game and mini-games, means there is plenty to do and interact with. So they were his pluses.
Yeah.
Agree with all that.
Definitely.
I think we've all kind of said that over the course of this. And then his minus points are fights get repetitive and completing the story can be a bit of a grind towards the end. I wouldn't know about the story at the end because we're still
going to
playing.
find out, to be fair. I am going to continue it.
I kind of agree about the fights, especially near the start because you haven't got a lot of things
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
And then he also says cutscenes can last a long time. Luckily, the story is interesting. If you can get past the first 2 hours and the game opens up and it becomes a treat.
I agree about the cutscenes being quite long as well sometimes.
I pretty much agree with everything Martin's saying there,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Very concise. Well put.
Shall we get to... Yeah, thank you for that, Martin.
Mm.
Shall we get to our recommendations then?
I think so.
So shall we start with Ben?
I would say so. I've been playing it a lot, handheld a lot on my breaks because it's a pick up and put downer. Because although I'm continuing the story all the time, at the minute I've been sort of grinding the money out. So I've been picking it up for half an hour at dinner time at work and putting it back down again. I absolutely love it for that. I'm enjoying it, and I'll continue to do that.
And the turn-based combat lends itself quite well to not needing great connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Just it just seems to work really well like that. I'm definitely going to continue it, and I would definitely say have a go if you're looking for a big game to get into.
Definitely.
Because bear in mind, it's a big game to get into.
He's actually on Game Pass and PlayStation Plus, isn't it?
Yes.
It's on both, so it's
Yeah.
dead easy to pick up.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not really that old. I think it came out in 2020.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
So,
Right, Joe?
I think this is a great game to introduce people to the series. I knew a few people when I was at uni who played the Yakuza games, and I didn't know if I should get into it because it looked dead serious whenever I saw them play it. And I thought, I don't know if that style is for me. But this is funny from the get-go, and that gets you into a serious story.
Yeah.
And I quite like that easing in factor. So I thought, this is a great game to recommend. If you've never played a Yakuza game before, play this one first, I'd say.
Awesome. Jake?
definitely. I second what Joe's saying there. I've never played any Yakuzas. Neither of us have played any Yakuzas. But this is a brilliant one to jump into because it's a whole new protagonist from the old ones. It almost makes me want to play them to see what the combat's like.
Yeah.
Because I've heard they're still just as ridiculous. They're still just as ridiculous to funny and then to serious.
But I'd quite like to be able to play that in the moment. You know what I mean? Like, actually attack.
Yeah, like pick up bikes and
see how ridiculous it is to control it.
I really liked it a lot more than I thought. And I thought I would, after I'd played 5 hours, I'd just put it down, talk about it in the podcast and not play it again. But I really want to finish it because the story's so good. It's really got its hooks into me. I'm going to try my very best to finish it. What Martin said about the grind near the end kind of puts me off a bit, not going to lie. But I will try my best to finish it. It might just take me some time.
You can always get to that grind bit, and then if it gets too much towards the end.
Yeah, definitely. I could watch the story online, I suppose, but I am really invested in what's going on. I think the humor is perfect. Like, it is hilariously funny. Perfect for this sort of game. And yeah, I definitely recommend it. 100% for people who haven't tried Yakuza before. Don't be threatened by it. It is really good.
Well, I'm pretty much just going to riff on what you guys have just said, because my last point I made was that it's a good introduction to the characters, where I was worried. I didn't realize it was a new story. So I was worried I was going to have a lot of existing knowledge. And I didn't find that at all. It was really welcoming, maybe a bit too slow welcoming you to everything.
Yeah.
If there was one criticism you could sort of point towards the beginning, it takes a while to get into it, but it is still routinely funny and entertaining, and also like interesting to see what these characters are doing. So it on one hand you can say the start's a bit slow, but on the other hand I think it does a really good job.
I think the only thing holding it back is the combat. As I said, it just seems a bit, as Martin kind of said, it's a bit repetitive.
But I won't let the fact that it's turn-based put anyone off, because it does do it really well. I do like turn-based games sometimes, but I'm not the biggest fan. But I'm still really enjoying this. I think I put about 10 hours into it in the end. I really thought exactly the same as you. I'll play enough of it to get a feel for it, and that's kind of it. But I put a lot more time in than I thought. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Recommend it wholeheartedly. Way more than I thought I was going to.
Definitely. I don't think I'd want to jump straight into the next Yakuza game straight after.
No.
I feel like I might be a bit burnt out.
Yeah, which I think is kind of like how I felt about Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
I didn't want to jump straight into the next one. But yeah, really good.
And also, just want to quickly say, I apologise if you could hear some grinding sounds then. There is somebody grinding outside my house.
He's just doing a mini game to level up.
Yes. Yeah. So sorry if that comes through in the audio.
Hopefully it won't, but we'll see. So our next Buried by Backlog is going to be brought to us by Ben this time, which has changed up the order a little bit. There's a reason for that though, isn't there, Ben?
Yeah, I kind of asked to jump ahead of Jake this time because we all know I've been following Overthrown as its course, and it's progressing and stuff. So it's in early access on Game Pass, and hoping to play it. So I'm going next, and I'm choosing Overthrown.
Yeah, you wanted to get to it soon because
I wanted to get to it before it's before it's past, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Really cool.
Which again, so we asked Martin so much more detail, so we're trying to ask the community backlog, why you chose it, everything else. Same story with this, if you want to play along while we're playing it, talk to us, email us, tell us what you think of it. Play along at the same time, let us know. We'll mention you in the next episode.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's been us. We just want to say thank you again to Martin for the Buried by Backlog section. And thank you to you guys.
Thanks to you too. There's been a lot of thanks this time.
Happy days. Thanks.
Good today.
It's a grateful year.
Ichiban has got into our hearts.
He has.
Yes.
He has. So until next time.
See you later.
See you later.
See you soon.
Bye.